I was really struggling to make any sort of progress in the right direction with either nutrition or fitness or, well, and specifically weight loss. And it was frustrating to me because I am a nurse, I am really interested in nutrition. So it's not like I was. One of the things that you said to me, like the first time we ever talked, when I said, I'm a stress eater. And you were like, but you're making that your identity. And that really was like, boing, a big light bulb for me, because I was like, he's right. Because if you say you're something, that's what you are. I was really surprised by that. I'm really happy with the progress because
All right. So I want Asa to just go ahead and just introduce yourself, tell people who you are, how old are you, what you do for work, kind of thing, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, my name's Asa. I am a nurse and don't work at the bedside anymore. I do chart reviews for clinical documentation integrity. I'm 49 years old. I live in Atlanta area, and I'm just finishing up my 12-week transformation.
Beautiful. So speaking of that, let's kind of talk about before you even got into this 12-week transformation. What were the problems you had before taking this decision to work with us?
I was really struggling to make any sort of progress in the right direction with either nutrition or fitness or, and specifically weight loss. And it was frustrating to me because I am a nurse, I am really interested in nutrition. So it's not like I was lacking any sort of information. I just really was struggling to, like what I would say prior to starting this, to get on track or to get back on the wagon. I always felt like I would have a few good days and then I would fall off, and then it would be like, gosh, I don't know, I'm never going to be good at this, I'm never going to find success. So I was really stuck, I think, prior to working with you.
So you're kind of stuck, not seeing the results that you wanted, and it sounds like you was trying for a little bit now. So could you even share what made you decide? Because obviously there's millions and millions of programs and things.
Right.
Like, what about this made you decide to take that leap of faith to decide to work with, this and get this kind of change?
And I think I had followed you for a while on Instagram, and a lot of what you post, what you talk about really always resonated and made sense with me. There was nothing that I thought, like, that seems, like a fad or maybe not science backed or whatever. It just all seemed to make sense what you would talk about. And I think really what made me decide to go ahead and like sort of take the leap and go ahead and commit was just that I knew I wasn't making any kind of headway at all on my own. And I've worked, I think probably a lot of people that you work with have done Weight Watchers and quick weight loss and buy ebooks from everybody and their dog on Instagram. And I had really exhausting all of my resources. And I think I just was kind of like, enough is enough. And like I say, what you talk about aligns with what I believe. So it made it easier for me to.
So tell us a little bit more about that. What's actually different about what you've gotten with us versus the Weight Watchers, the programs, the ebooks, the things out there?
The first thing, and I'm sorry if I talked over you, but the first thing I really noticed about the difference between Weight Watchers and MyFitnessPal, or tracking your nutrition with a different type of app. Because people used to say that to me, have you ever tried MyFitnessPal? And I'm like, I use Weight Watchers. It's all it's the same, but it really wasn't, because with you and using MyFitnessPal, we were looking at specific macros. So we were looking at prioritizing protein. We were looking at caloric intake for the 24 hours, but not necessarily like, I guess what I mean is we were looking at foods that were more nutritionally beneficial in weight loss and kind of supporting the goals that we had. So I really felt like that was eye-opening, because up until then I kind of was like, well, I know I'm supposed to prioritize protein, but I wasn't thinking about, well, how many grams is this? Or I just wasn't tracking it.
So that actually being aware of exactly how many grams, knowing all the macronutrients you're consuming,
right,
and able to see that, raise that awareness for you.
And that goes along with you can eat a lot of like low point foods on Weight Watchers, but you can be hungry all the time and still really blow out your calories. So when we were focusing on protein and foods that were, and I kind of focused on fiber, not because you told me to, but I just did. So I was hungry, you know what I mean? So I felt really satisfied. I felt sort of like definitely more in control. And I'm set with MyFitnessPal. I think it's an awesome tool. I'm glad you encouraged us to use it, or I'm glad you kind of opened my eyes to it and how I could use it.
So let's kind of talk about what kind of results did you gain from taking that decision, taking that leap of faith to work with me and making that shift? Like what kind of results? Yes, scale, but also because we all know that it changes your entire world per se, and like relationships, work. What kind of shifts did you notice from going through this?
I did have results with the scale, and I still have a ways to go, and I'm happy to work on that. I knew it would probably be, for me, it would be a slower process because I have bigger goals to kind of reach. But I think that's probably the thing that was the most eye-opening for me, because when you think of a transformation challenge or whatever, you're thinking of all physical things. But for me, it was really about mindset, how I was thinking about things. I'm trying to be a recovering perfectionist. And I really was sort of like, oh, this whole thing is a mess because I screwed up breakfast. So I'll just start again next week or whatever. And so with some of the modules that we've done, some of the teachings that you've done is just sort of just look to see how you can do better at the next meal or the next day, or you had a crappy Monday, but you can have a better Tuesday, and it doesn't have to be completely perfect to see success. And so that for me, that was really huge. The mindset shift was really, really big. And even just when I start to encounter those thoughts that I can have where I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be successful. You've taught us sort of how to reframe those thoughts. So I've really learned a lot of tools to sort of redirect thought processes that I really do believe were really holding me back prior to working with you.
That's music to my ears, hearing the fact that, yes, you got physical changes, but most importantly, you've done the inner work to help with the outer work.
Oh, yeah,
right?
It's been huge. And so much of what you've encouraging the journaling and encouraging having your affirmations and sort of having like your mission statement for yourself, all those things, I've read about that all the time, but I've never really been pushed to just go ahead and commit and do those things. And they have been really, those are what's been transformative for me, because just like a record, I had a groove in my brain that I just kind of had the same thoughts going, and it really was keeping me from moving forward.
So it sounds like you kind of got out your own way as well.
I was really in my way.
So what's unexpected, right? So like wild card, you came in here to lose a couple of pounds. Obviously the mindset shift is a wild card. Is there any other unexpected shifts or things you noticed about this approach?
Well, one of the things, and I don't know that this is what you're talking about, but prior to working with you, I was struggling with like all kinds of like chronic pain I was having. And I know a lot of people get this, but I was having plantar fasciitis that was keeping me from doing any walking, which is something I like to do. But it's just, I was struggling with a lot of like just pain, and starting to eat better and focusing on better nutrition choices. I noticed all that inflammatory pain and stuff is just gone. So that to me was sort of amazing. And really worth it, because I really was struggling. And and even like brain fog, just not being able to think clearly and just feeling sort of like you're underwater, or you can't form a linear thought, that started to sort of go away too. So, those were things I really didn't know to expect, and I was really surprised by, and they are such huge benefits.
Wow. Yeah, that is huge. A quality of life that you can't put into a number on a scale is your mental clarity, how you feel, less pain. Okay. So then before, obviously you've reaped plenty of rewards, more than you may have even thought that you would have while deciding to join. but what hesitancies did you have before, like saying, all right, let me invest in myself? And like, how did you kind of work through that?
So my hesitancy, I think, was just like, I haven't been successful with anything. Why would this be different? I think that was probably, and it was a lack of understanding as to probably to what we were going to do, what we were going to work on. Because I figured, you know, all you and I would talk about is what are you eating and are you working out? And we talked about all kinds of other, never did we really talk about, I'm sure we would have if it had been a problem, but we didn't really talk about those things so much as, managing thoughts, managing behaviors. One of the things that you said to me, like the first time we ever talked, when I said, I'm a stress eater. And you were like, but you're making that your identity. And that really was like, boing, a big light bulb for me, because I was like, he's right. Because if you say you're something, that's what you are. So I was really surprised by that. But I'm sorry, I think I kind of forgot what you asked me.
Oh, you're right
I don't know
there.
if I
So
answered.
it was you didn't know what to expect, and then
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I mean, like I was saying earlier, I've thrown a lot of money at a lot of different things. And, you're always like, well, maybe this will work, and maybe this. And I think for me, because of the focus of what we've done for thought processes, mindsets, tools to sort of help when you are getting bogged down with negative thinking or that all or nothing thinking, you've given us a lot of like strategies to move away from those, to recognize them and kind of figure out a way to, I've already said reframe, but how to rethink those thoughts so that they're not working against you.
You feel like a new version of yourself because now you take life differently. You're thinking differently. You're handling emotions differently. You're aware of your behaviors and your triggers and how to respond versus react. And okay. So then tell me a little bit about, like, if someone's in the same position that you were in, right? They seen my post or something, they see me online, or they had someone tell them about me and they were kind of on the fence, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to someone like that who's kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out with making the same decision that you made?
I definitely would say that if that person is looking for something that's kind of like, I don't want to take your word, but holistic, because it wasn't just, here's what you should eat, Asa, here's the exercises you need to do. There was so much more to like discovering things that were like stumbling blocks and hindering any kind of process. So, I mean, I think I would tell that person, if this is what if you want something that is sort of like the whole package, that's what this is. Because I mean, I've done nutrition classes, I've done, who hasn't done a bunch of Instagram workouts, right? Some of them are crazy and some, but this was the whole start to finish. It just was more complete.
Oh dear. Well, hey, heard Asa first. She had every reason not to keep going, right? Because after multiple attempts and not seeing the exact results you want, that's very discouraging, right? Mm-hmm. So you took that one last chance on yourself, and look at you 12 weeks, 13 weeks later. And what would you say? Are you happy about the past decision you made? Upset?
Oh, yeah. I'm really happy with the progress, because I mean, when you and I spoke the first time, I was like, I have done nothing but gain weight for probably 2 or 3 years from pandemic on. And I was like, I just don't know why I can't sort of get a grip.
Okay, beautiful.